Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the place where we dig into, well, the biggest ideas in history and technology, and we pull out the most important, uh, the most fascinating bits just for you. Today, wow, we are really strapping in for a massive journey. It's a historical sweep that honestly stretches from caves all the way to cyberspace. Just think about that huge scale for a second. We're tackling the colossal topic of communication technology. So our main goal, our mission for this deep dive is to figure out a pretty fundamental question. How exactly have humans managed to share, complex ideas across thousands of years? And why has the technology we use for this become such a powerful, maybe even revolutionary force in shaping our societies? We're going to define what communication technology actually is, explore its dramatic history, and believe me, that history is way more complex than you might think. And then we'll grapple with some of the biggest challenges facing us right now. In the digital world, let's jump right in.
Yeah, it's a fantastic topic because communication, it's like the ultimate human foundation, isn't it? If we really zoom in on the core definition. Communication is simply the exchange of information or ideas or even emotions. And it's really important to remember this goes way beyond just talking.
Absolutely. The material we look through really emphasizes that. It includes everything from ancient symbols and deliberate body gestures,
Wow.
all the way up to images, digital signals, even just the tone of our voices.
And that's where things get, well, pretty interesting, especially for you listening now. You spend so much time communicating digitally, right? We often forget that meaning relies so heavily on the nonverbal stuff. You're talking face-to-face. Think about it. Your posture, eye contact, how you move your hands. These things give critical context. But now when we're texting, we're relying on cues like punctuation, maybe capitalization, or using an emoji to get emotion across.
I wonder, does that reliance on digital cues make communication faster? Sure, but maybe also riskier. Like, you send a quick text you think is funny, but without the right emoji, the person reading it might think you're actually upset or sarcastic.
That's the tension right there. Exactly. We really need to ask ourselves, how does nonverbal communication, whether it's, a raised eyebrow in person or that perfectly placed meme in a group chat, how does it fundamentally change the meaning of what you're saying? The medium often shapes the message itself.
Okay, let's unpack the technology side of this a bit more. Communication technology. The definition is pretty straightforward. It's the tools and systems that let us transmit information across space or across time. And this covers a huge spectrum, from really ancient methods like smoke signals, which were actually quite sophisticated systems for their day, all the way to modern fiber optic cables and satellites whizzing around the planet. And when we talk about these systems, we mean both the hardware, the physical stuff like phones and towers, and the software. The apps, the codes, the logic that makes it all work.
Yeah, and that hardware-software distinction, it brings up our first big debate point straight away.
Right.
What do you think? Does technology genuinely improve communication? Does it make us clearer, more connected?
Yeah.
Or does the complexity and maybe the sheer speed of these tools sometimes make understanding each other, well, harder?
It's a real puzzle, but to really appreciate the speed we have now, we kind of have to look backward first. For thousands and thousands of years, the most direct way to share ideas was just face-to-face. And it's still kind of the gold standard for personal connection, isn't it? You get instant feedback, you see all the body language, you make eye contact. But even face-to-face communication is incredibly dependent on context. Take something really simple, like a thumbs up here, or in many places it means good job or okay.
Yeah.
But use that same gesture in certain parts of the Middle East and oops, you might be giving someone a serious insult without even realizing it.
Right. And what's fascinating here, I think, is how the simple act of writing changed the human condition completely. Think about it. Before scripts and records, a message only lasted as long as the sound waves carried it, or, as long as someone could remember it accurately. Writing, whether it's carving ancient scripts on a stone or typing out this very transcript that gives ideas permanence, suddenly a thought can live on, way beyond the moment it was first thought or spoken. But even writing was slow, difficult to share widely, until the 15th century, really.
Ah, yes, the printing press. And this is such a critical piece of history, often kind of glossed over. The printing press in the 1400s wasn't just about printing more books faster. It was a revolution in standardization. Before the press, you had scribes, right? Writing by hand, often in slightly different styles, different dialects even. But the mass-produced printed word, it helped standardize those regional dialects into what eventually became national languages. And this technology spread ideas so incredibly fast. It helped fuel massive societal changes. Things like the Protestant Reformation, the Scientific Revolution, huge stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The printing press basically separated communication from the cost of human labor. making copies became cheap. But the next massive leap, maybe in the 19th century, separated communication from the speed of physical travel. And that's the telegraph. Just pause and think about that for a second. For all of human history before then, if you wanted to send a message 1,000 miles away, it literally took days, maybe weeks, for a horse or a train or a ship to carry the physical letter. The telegraph used electrical signals. It sent messages almost instantaneously across vast distances. That shift was arguably just as big, maybe bigger in some ways, than the invention of the internet later on, because it completely collapsed distance for the first time.
Wow, yeah. If the telegraph felt fast, connecting continents by wire, then the 20th century brought in wireless communication, things like radio and later, television. These technologies allowed one person or one station to broadcast a single message to millions of people all at the same time. That shaped national cultures, politics, everything in ways that were just impossible before. And all of that really sets the stage for where we are now, the digital age. And here's where it gets really interesting, because we move from revolutionary speed to something that feels almost exponential, dizzying instantaneity.
Oh yeah, the arrival of the internet and then social media just turbocharged everything. Suddenly we have global communication happening in literal seconds. And maybe the biggest change is that social media means basically anyone can publish information to a global audience. Instantly. We're all producers now, not just consumers of communication.
But that incredible power and speed, it definitely comes with real risks. Our source material really warns us about this. The software, the algorithms that run these platforms, they now determine so much of what information you see and what you don't. Algorithms are like the hidden logic deciding what goes viral, what gets promoted, and this isn't neutral, right? It means the way a message is packaged and amplified is controlled by code. And often that code prioritizes sensational stuff or highly emotional content just to keep your eyes glued to the screen longer.
And this leads us directly to the first big modern challenge we need to talk about, digital balance. Because these systems are literally designed to maximize your attention. We end up constantly connected to our phones or devices. It leads to what some sources are calling digital addiction and just this constant barrage of notifications that never seems to end. So we have to debate this. Are our phones genuinely connecting us to the world in meaningful ways? Or are they mostly distracting us from, real life, the people right there in front of us? It feels like a constant battle for your attention. It's the attention economy.
Yeah. And the second major challenge is rooted in the content itself, misinformation. And we're not just talking about someone being wrong by accident. Misinformation is false or inaccurate information that spreads like wildfire. One pretty surprising fact highlighted in the sources was that false news, it actually tends to travel about 6 times faster than the truth on social platforms, 6 times. So when you combine that kind of speed with algorithmic amplification, trying to separate fact from fiction becomes incredibly difficult, almost impossible sometimes.
And the third major risk area second involves privacy and security. It's huge. Every single time we communicate digitally, sending a text, posting a photo, even just browsing, we leave behind this massive trail of data, our digital footprint. This raises really profound questions about privacy loss, obviously, but also some very real, tangible threats like cyberbullying, online harassment, even identity theft. All of these are made easier, or at least amplified, by these instantaneous communication channels. And these interconnected risks, the algorithms, the balance issues, the misinformation, the privacy concerns, they lead directly to a big, really provocative policy question. One you should definitely be thinking about. Should social media companies control or filter what people post on their platforms, to try and reduce misinformation and harm? What are the arguments for giving that kind of power to a private company? And what are the really strong arguments against that kind of censorship? It's a tough one.
It really is. That's a massive challenge our whole society is trying to navigate right now. So as we try to kind of synthesize this vast history we've covered, from the permanence of writing all the way to the speed of the algorithm, let's maybe list together some of the key ways we communicate right now in our current ecosystem. It's definitely not just texting anymore, is it? Our communication involves things like memes, which are like these rapid-fire bits of cultural shorthand. Podcasts like this one was sort of restore the long-form audio conversation. AI chatbots are becoming common, automating interactions. And there's really sophisticated communication happening inside complex environments like video games. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Of all these modern inventions, which one do you think changed communication the most in your lifetime?
For me, maybe it's the ability to instantly share a video from literally anywhere on Earth. It makes the world feel incredibly small sometimes.
That's a great point. And we connect all this back to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
All these historical steps we've talked about, from face-to-face to print to telegraph to digital anti, they've created this landscape defined by, well, unprecedented speed and truly global reach. But those incredible gains, they're offset by these crucial contemporary issues that we absolutely have to manage. Things like combating misinformation, trying to secure our privacy, and finding some kind of sustainable digital balance so that the tool serves us, right? Not the other way around. That, I think, is the essence of the modern communication challenge.
So, what does all this mean for you listening right now? We've reinforced that communication is way more than just talking. It involves complex symbols, evolving media, nonverbal cues. And communication technology is that constantly changing system of tools we use to transmit those ideas. And it's moving faster now than ever before in history. You are literally living through the most dramatic communication shifts humans have ever experienced. So the responsibility kind of falls to you, to all of us really, to understand not just the message, but also the mechanisms, the tools, the algorithms that carry it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads us perfectly into our final provocative thought for you to chew on. We noted how modern tech often relies so heavily on written, concise text messages, right? With emojis trying to fill in for complex emotion. Yeah. We also noted how much rich face-to-face communication relies on subtle, nonverbal cues that we often lose digitally. So here's the challenge. I want you to try and imagine communication in a future without phones. Imagine a world where that instant digital connection is just gone, or maybe significantly different. How might we evolve our communication tools then? How can we potentially restore some of that authentic, complex, nonverbal depth that maybe we've sacrificed in this relentless quest for speed and efficiency? Keep thinking about the quality of connection, not just the quantity or the speed.